One race that I have always heard about and read about that stands out in NASCAR history to me was one that took place at Asheville-Weaverville in 1961, where they actually called the race early because of the track.
The track tour. What happened up there, we went up there to race, and the racetrack, I don't know what happened or what, but the racetrack was fairly new, and all this, but it was dirt, if you remember, and when we first started running it, and then they paved it, and whoever paved it didn't do a real good job. And what happened, we started the race, and we was running the race, and the asphalt was coming apart, and chunks of it flying up, breaking out the windshields and all this stuff, in the cars and doing all this. And we'd have to stop about every 15 to 20 laps, and they'd go out there and the crews and clean the chunks of asphalt off the racetrack and clean it all out. And we kept running, and finally we got down there about done run a 200-lap race and done run about 90 laps. And Junior Johnson was leading the race, and we were running third. And we done had the whole front of our car all beat up, and everybody else. And Johnny Bruner says he got us all together while he was cleaning the race truck off. And he said, now, we're going to run it to 110 laps. That's 10 laps past halfway, and we're going to call it a race, whoever's leading it then. So they did. So we went out and run, and Junior Johnson won it. We run third, and they called it a race. Man, them spectators just went damn wild. So these about 3 or 4 had a pickup truck, and they backed it up across the road right there in front of the entrance to going into the infield, and we couldn't get out. So Johnny Bruner, he was the NASCAR official then, and he went over and talked to him, and he said, we come here to see him run 200 laps, and we're going to see him run. They was about half lit, too, and oh, man, they got into it hot and heavy. All the people standing around and all this, and you just wouldn't believe how bad it was. So we had about 3 or 4 they were Asheville policemen, there and all this, and Bruner talking to them, so let's go over and get them guys out of the way. Let's get this place opened up and all this. And they wouldn't go over there. No, we ain't gonna fool with them. So finally, Jack Smith was there, and Johnny Bruner, he come to me, and then Pop Ergel, he worked for me, and so he said, we got to go over and get that pickup out of the road. So we go back over there, and it's me and Jack Smith and Pop Ergel, and Coker was the other boy's name. He worked for Cotton. We got over there and talking to him and all this stuff, and they had 2x4s and all in their hand, going to knock us out of the way and all this.
Really? Wow.
So Pop sort of laid his arm up on top of the side of the bed when he did. This guy swung at him with this 2x4. When he did, he caught that 2x4 and jerked him off the truck, and he popped him right back of the head with that 2x4. When he come off the truck, he caught my shirt and tore my shirt about halfway off. And this one big guy, he's up there swinging. He turned around. Coker had his knife, and he just went right across his rump, and his blood started flying. He went down through the field. and finally, we picked the truck up and turned it around sideways and put it off the side of the road. This guy that Pop knocked out with the 2x4, we just throwed him up in the back of the truck and opened his thing up, and we started going on out. So it wasn't a little bit, here comes the sheriff from up there. He comes over there, and he says, talking to Johnny Bruner, he says, where's that big guy and all the ones that opened up that road and beat them boys up like they did? Bruner says, well, what do you mean? He said, I want to see that guy. Bruner said, I don't think you want to see him. Said, he'll just probably tear your head up as bad as he tore them up. Sheriff said, well, we better leave it be then.
Yeah. We better leave it be.
It'll leave it be. But anyway, and what was so funny, Wesley was just standing up on top. He done climb up on top of the fire truck. He's out there just waving his arm, Get him out of there,
Safely out of the line of fire.
Out of the line of fire. Another thing was happening. There's some cat over there, and this was right before we went and opened the road up, and Richard Petty was standing there, and they was talking about this and that, and finally, this guy threw a Coca-Cola bottle, hit Petty right beside the head. I seen him when he throwed it, and I told Richard, I said, you know who that guy was? And he said, no. I said, see that guy standing right over there? Richard went over and nailed the daylights out of him. Anyway, that's just the way it happened, and after we got the road open, the cars got to going out and all, it was over.